What's up? What's up? What's up? What's good, my protectors? How's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling? Today, we're going to go over part two of this three-part series of the three questions to ask yourself that will improve your self protection. All right. So, in part one, we went over the question, what are you going to do in a tactical or crisis situation? Right? What are you going to do in a tactical or crisis situation? And I went over some points in regards to that. So now we're going to talk about question number two, which is, what are you going to do in a medical situation? What are you going to do in a medical situation? All right. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back as I get my walk on today. All right. There we go. So again, with this question, what are you going to do in a medical situation? And this also has subcategories to it. All right. And so, how so? Because people have different medical issues, or some people might not have. Now, both this question one and two and three on the next episode, part three, you can apply for your own personal security. And also, you can apply if you're going to be with someone and you're going to be the one that's probably going to be doing the protecting or the protection for the someone who you will be with, whether it's children, whether it's family, and you're going to be the sole protector. This can also apply not only to yourself, but everybody who's around you. All right. So let's take a look at that with this question. What are you going to do in a medical situation? Okay. And so for yourself personally, again, you could put that question on the top of a piece of paper. You can, if you don't want to write it down, you put it on whatever apps you guys use, Google Docs or whatever you use to write stuff down. And, or if you just want to kind of mentally think about it and run it through your mind, you can do that as well. So whichever one of those you want to choose from, you can do that. But let's go down the list, man, because there's so many ailments that somebody has. Well, first of all, you want to look at yourself and think about what medical situations could happen to you if you're fairly in good health and good shape, and you don't have any pre-existing conditions or anything like that. You can just kind of run down a list of possible things that could happen to you. And if you're with family, you can kind of go down the list mentally, or you can write it down. You might have family members that have certain ailments, and of course, we are in the season of the pandemic. I'll put it like that. I won't go into too much detail, but we can look at it like that, right? And so you can make a list. You know, some people might have bad hearts, might have diabetes, other issues, so on and so forth, right? And so you want to make a list of those things, and you can plan for those things ahead of time. And when meaning that if you're going to do some traveling or something like that, you can always make sure you got all the medications you're supposed to have. If there's certain things you got to do in order to travel, you want to make sure that is taken care of. And then you even have situations like just learning how to do the normal things like CPR, you know, how to do the Heimlich maneuver. I also understand, I've seen some commercials of there's some products that are out on the market or coming out where you can deal with choking patients, whether it's a child or an adult. I've seen There's some new product, I guess it's out, where you could put it over the person's face and it does some type of suction. And I guess it helps to make it easier to get out what somebody has in their throats or whatever they're choking from. So you can look at situations like that, what equipment you might need to help you in your medical situations, defibrillators, things like that, certain medications where you have to inject. There are certain people who have certain issues. I forget. I don't want to say it's endometriosis. It could be, but there's an issue, some type of medical situation that people might have where they have to inject something that they carry with them. Also, if you have asthma and you get the asthma pump or whatever they use or whatever's out now. So you got to look at all those things and make an assessment of not only the specifics of a person, whether that's yourself or that is family members, whatever specifics they have about them. You want to make sure you make a note of that mentally or written down, however way you want to write it down. And so you could be prepared if situations go down that way. Certain situations could turn into a medical situation. And you kind of got to think a little bit outside of the box when it comes to that. Now, for example, certain things can come in the air by accident or maybe on purpose. All right. Now, again, going back to this situation with the pandemic, there was always talk about it being airborne, right? To what degree, nobody really says or knows to this point how airborne dangerous it was or is. But it could be a situation where you could be out on vacation and then for whatever reason, some type of thing will come in the air and can affect a lot of people. You can also drop a lot of chlorine from a truck, ammonia. You know, it might be trains transporting ammonia around to different states or whatever. Trucks could be transporting chlorine or vice versa. And when a lot of that stuff gets in the air, and if there's a lot of concentration of it, that could be real dangerous. All right. And it could be a whole host of other things. And it might be specific to the area that you go into. All right. So you look at those things as well. Like I said, you got to think a little bit out the box and make those lists as potentials that could happen. You might want to do a little research and find out the past history of a location you might be going to. You know, has there ever been some chemical spills, things of that sort in the past, and what were they? Has it been nature took its course, like for instance, a hurricane or something to that effect, tornado, and when it ripped through someplace, it might rip through a chemical plant, and the chemical plant might be where you're actually going to visit. It might be in that area. And so if that ever happens, and this chemical plant might have X, Y, and Z chemicals. So if that should happen in the time that you go there, or just an explosion could happen and it could release some chemicals, right? And so you might want to do some research on what type of chemical plants that you happen to be at, if there's some, and how many miles away, so on and so forth. So you want to be really detailed when it comes to medical. All three of these questions, you want to be as detailed as possible, and then cover as much as you can. Make a plan on how to deal with it. You have the basics of whether you and family have certain health issues, and you got your medications, you got the equipment you need, so you're kind of protected and you kind of squared away with that issue. But then it can be outside situations that could affect your health, and you want to try to make those risks as less as possible. All right. So again, what are you going to do in a medical situation? Another thing, you might want to be aware of the hospitals that are in your area. And this, even if you don't have to be traveling, it just could be even where you live at. You might not have thought about these things. All right. what's the top? You might have 3 or 4 different hospitals in the area you live at, and you might want to find out which one of those deals with specific really bad medical situations where the other ones might not be as equipped as this particular hospital. So you want to kind of gauge that and research that information. If you are traveling somewhere, whether in the States or overseas, you want to make sure you know where the best hospitals are and how fast can you get there, what's the distance, things like that. So you can be prepared, and you can go through your day having fun, and then something happens, you already know what's what, where everything is, and you prepare for it. Okay. So let me see if there's anything else that comes to mind. I think that's it that I can think of right now. So again, the question I ask for you guys today is, what are you going to do in a medical situation? All right. Again, with that question brings subcategories that you can make list. Okay. So that's something for you guys to work on as part 2, number 2 question for today for this series. And hopefully it will help you. It might bring up some things that you probably didn't think about before, right? You might not have thought about that. You might not have thought about, yeah, how far is such and such hospital? Or, hey, we're going overseas to this country. Let's go research where the nearest hospital is to the hotel we're staying in. Or if it's there, if they have Airbnbs overseas, I'm sure some places do. And so you might want to consider that, right? Consider the hospitals, consider the level of expertise the hospital has dealing with certain issues, gunshot wounds, heart type hospitals that deal with, you can go to this specific one because they know what they're doing when it comes to ailments of the heart, body damage, structural damage to your body. This hospital might be really good and excellent for that. Research those things. And again, like I said, even if you're not traveling, even where you live at, research that information, because you might even have relatives that live in the same city and state. They might not live with you, but you can pass that information on to them. Like, hey, I know our cousin such and such or our aunt such and such has this issue, blah, 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 blah. Did you know this hospital is X, Y, Z? They deal with this really good, such and such, because people might not be thinking about that. Everybody has their day-to-day issues they go through. And but it's always good to think with those type of questions so it doesn't become a panic situation at the last second, last minute. You know what I mean? Hospitals that deal with children's type hospitals, right? If some serious situation comes down about children, regarding children, oh, this is a great children's hospital right here. They deal with this. Or this hospital deals with adults, teens, and children. They can do it all, And the same thing with medical issues. If you have children with medical issues, prepare for that. All right. So with that being said, man, hopefully this will help you guys out with your protection, because you got to consider medical as part of your protection as well. All right. So finally, or lastly, I say again, I'm going to ask this question again. What are you going to do in a medical situation? Consider that question. All right. Consider the question and plan. Okay. So I appreciate y'all again. Shout out to all the protectors out there. I'm getting out of here, man. I'm gone. Peace. See you in part 3. Sit down and brainstorm potential things that can happen, all right? Potential situations that can occur. I'm giving you a list here of possible things that can happen. You got fires, you have flash floods, home invasions, hailstorms, hurricanes. A pipe might burst in your house because, it's real cold in the winter at that time. It might burst in the summer, all right? Just never know. Tornadoes, blizzards, snow, mudslides, earthquakes, etc. All right.
To prepare yourself for potential emergencies, take the free course, Simple Emergency Planning in 4 Easy Steps. Did I mention free? The link is in the description. Safe house is a location other than your primary residence that you can go to whenever you need assistance or protection from any possible criminal or violent encounters.
The first thing you want to start off with, though, is look for your fire departments, your police departments, your EMS stations. Look for that first, and then look for your 24-hour locations. You don't want to look at gas stations, gyms that are open up for 24 hours. You want to look at hotels, stores like Walmart, things of that nature. That way, if something happens, an emergency occurs, you already know where they at. Go right to them.
If you want to learn more on how to protect yourself, get the course, How to Be Your Own VIP Protection Specialist. The link is in the description.